You may or may not have been surprised. Let's skip past that. Tell us how you felt when he took that weapon and actually stuck the muzzle of it into the vehicle at you.
Well, first I want to say hello to my friend Mike.
Hi, Deb. I love you. You're awesome.
I love that
That's
kid.
great.
I love him. There were so many things happening all at once. And I had been standing out in front with you, right up there with you. I was standing there, and they told us to go back and wait a minute. And they were going to run it past somebody about going up there and getting the women and children out. So it was so cold. It was very, very cold that night. And so I got back in the vehicle where it was warm. And I scooted toward the middle of the back seat so that I could see out the front, because you had come back with us for just a second. And then you went back up there, you know. And I was worried. I mean, I just knew something was going to happen.
You did?
Well, yeah, because we had already heard that somebody had been killed and somebody else had been shot. We knew these things. We didn't know who it was or what was going on, but I knew that it was so volatile and so fragile a situation. And so when it all started happening, I got to tell you, even though I expected it, it was so shocking. You know, it was just shocking. And I could hear Mike talking to the police and telling them that he's going to keep filming. They told him to stop, you know, and he goes, "No, I'm not. I won't." And he had my eternal respect from that day forward. And he said, "I won't stop filming. I'm not going to."
With how many AR-15s pointed at us at that
Oh
point?
my gosh!
They had people up on the
Yeah.
roofs. They up on the right on multiple buildings.
Yeah.
They had. Do you recall seeing them up on the tops of the buildings, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we had snipers on top.
Yeah.
We had weapons pointed at us. They said, stop, stop filming. And he said, I'm not going to stop filming. I'm going to document it.
They said, put the camera down. I said, I'm not going to do that.
He said, I won't do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But the thing that he did was he stayed respectful.
Yes.
He didn't say, he didn't intimidate them. He didn't antagonize them. He stayed very respectful of what they were doing. He stayed back when they told him to go back. He wasn't in their face, any of those things. He let it roll naturally. And he really kept, I think he kept his cool. He really, I was impressed. Seriously impressed.
So Mike, you're saying, please don't, yes, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The thought, after you look at this on video, of course, you can recall saying, don't point your weapons at us. And I mean, how does it look for that guy to literally say to you, while you're filming this thing, I'm not pointing my weapon at you, as he's sticking the muzzle of his weapon at Deb's chest?
Well, that's just cop logic in a police state. You know, police have been used to, since the advent of the video camera being so ubiquitous in American society, now everyone has a camera in their pocket. Police used to enjoy the ability to interpret what reality is, meaning their word has always been golden in court until the last couple decades. Last couple decades roll around and everybody's filming police, and people are getting more of a realistic idea of what reality is. You know, he's still thinking in that mentality that we can just make up what we want as we go along. And, the reason why I stay cool like that is because there's two me's. There's protest Mike, and then there's journalist Mike. I was in journalist Mike mode. That's why I'm kind of very well known for being a vicious heckler, but I do that at a protest. I won't, when there's something that could go wrong or there's violence, I'm going to calm the police down. I'm going to assure them that I mean them no harm. I'm going to explain to them that I'm just there to document, and I'm going to stand my ground, but I'm going to stay respectful because I don't want my behavior to escalate violence.
Yeah.
So
Right.
and I was afraid, the difference between courage and stupidity is the absence of fear. That's insanity, right?
Yes, sir.
If you're if you're in the presence of fear, you can feel it. It's palpable. It's in the air, like it was when they were aiming those weapons at us.
Yes.
And you can still act according to your own moral conviction. That is courage. I try to strive to have courage. I don't do it every time. I have my failings, but I was trying to muster courage to do the right thing, and I succeeded that day. And I believe that was one of my best pieces of journalism is documenting your arrest and just defending you guys' civil rights there, because that's what I do. I'm an activist and a journalist hybrid. I'm somewhere between.
I was just going to ask you that. What's been the most impactful?
No doubt about it. I was afraid. They were aiming weapons at all of us.
Scary.
And I appreciate those good words. I was just going to ask you what has been the most impactful event. Tell us about the most impactful event. We have just a few minutes here left, Mike. And this is, I want to tell you, I want to bring you on a regular basis, cover stories out there, out in Portland.
I would love it.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on. But what's been the most impactful story?
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Before we move on to something else, I heard Mike outside the door, and I heard him say, "Stop aiming your gun at her." Mm-hmm. And it was immediately when you see me on the film, I look over, and when Mike said that, it was either right before Mike said it or right after. He said, "Are there any guns in the weapon? I mean, any weapons in the vehicle?" And I was like, "No, there's nothing in here." I put my hands up a little bit, and I was in such shock, that it took Mike to tell me later that he was aiming at my chest, right at me.
Right at your chest, yeah.
And the level of, I got to tell you, the level of shock and PTSD that I had from that moment until today is just, sometimes it's unbearable.
We have just a couple minutes left. I want to get Mike's input on this. Okay. And you're going to hear the music, and our segment will be over, but that's not going to be the last time you'll be on. So Mike, you hear that these meathead, testosterone filled, as you call them, sociopaths, right? Mm-hmm. That they actually fired a couple of rounds at the vehicle that Lavoie was in. That the FBI fired those, what I believe to be provocative rounds, because you got all these other Oregon State troopers running around. They're nervous. They got their finger on the trigger. They're like, "Oh my goodness, we were told that these guys are domestic terrorists." So these guys fire off provocative rounds. Did it surprise you to hear that these guys lied and said, "No, we didn't fire any rounds"? Did it surprise you when you found out that they picked up their shell casings and tried to hide and cover up the truth?
No, I'm that guy that everyone tells their police misconduct stories to. If it would take me 4 hours to go through all the horror that I've been told in confidence and publicly by people that have been railroaded. I believe Finicum was a cold-blooded murder. They fired at him from an elevated sniper position.
Yeah. Mike, you know what? We're going to have you on. We'll talk about your experiences. We'll cover the stories that you're covering out there in Portland. As far as I'm concerned, you are our journalist contact out there in the state of Oregon, out in Portland. We'll have you back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a continuation of some very important announcements and news in the third hour. We got a lot to talk about. Don't you dare go away. I want to hear from first-time callers right after this.
Hi.